Since the dawn of Christianity, the relationship between the followers of Jesus Christ and the Jewish religious authorities has been marked by deep tension, culminating in the crucifixion, an event that became a turning point in religious and political history. This tension was not merely doctrinal but evolved into an existential conflict that shaped Christian theology and influenced perceptions of Jews in Christian societies for centuries. Jesus, born into this society, operated within the framework of Jewish law, embodying its teachings while proposing a radical reform that challenged entrenched beliefs. The Pharisees, particularly, perceived his message as a direct threat to their authority, a clash of ideologies playing out in public and private spheres. As Jesus' popularity grew, so did the unease among the religious leaders, who began to view him not just as a reformer, but as a charismatic figure capable of inciting unrest. They feared that his bold proclamations would undermine their strict adherence to the law and provoke Roman intervention, which could lead to dire consequences for the entire Jewish community under occupation. Their response was immediate. They sought not just to debunk his teachings but to silence him altogether, believing their actions were justified in protecting both tradition and their people from any perceived heresy. As the tension escalated, the religious authorities conspired in shadows, whispering accusations of blasphemy. They crafted narratives that fueled public disdain, knowing that the ramifications of their actions would ripple far beyond the confines of their immediate disputes. In the crowded streets of Jerusalem, the voices of dissent grew louder, as the socio-political climate transformed into a volatile arena ripe for conflict. The crowd, swayed by fear and fervor, echoed the sentiments of their leaders, demanding Jesus' execution over a mere release. Meanwhile, Pontius Pilate, entangled in these divisive forces, wrestled with the knowledge of Jesus' innocence, yet felt the weight of historical responsibility pressing heavily upon him. The day of reckoning arrived, thick with tension and uncertainty. As Jesus stood before the crowd, Pilate sought to placate the atmosphere by offering him a choice between liberating him or Barabbas, a known criminal. "Which of the two do you want me to release to you?" he asked, his voice echoing over the anxious murmurs. Yet, the response he received was not what he had hoped. Stirred by the chief priests and elders, the crowd shouted back, "Barabbas!" The demand cut through the air like a sharp blade, disregarding the pleas for justice and mercy as they clamored for blood instead. Conflicted and trapped in a moment of historical significance, Pilate found himself grappling with the alarming reality that he would be complicit in the execution of an innocent man. The air was thick with tension as Pilate's gaze swept over the restless crowd, his heart heavy with the knowledge of the path that lay ahead. "What then shall I do with Jesus, who is called Christ?" he implored, searching for a hint of mercy amidst the cries for violence. The crowd, now fully under the sway of their leaders, responded in unison, "Let him be crucified." Their voices, a cacophony of fear and fervor, echoed through the streets, signaling the irrevocable decision. In that moment, Pilate's resolve began to crumble under the weight of public sentiment and political pressure, as he hesitated, struggling with the enormity of the fate that awaited Jesus. In a final, desperate attempt to maintain some distance from this unfolding catastrophe, Pilate washed his hands before the crowd, declaring his innocence in the matter with a heavy heart. "I am innocent of this man's blood, see to it yourselves." His words hung in the air, yet they did little to quell the roar of discontent and anticipation rippling through the throngs. They shouted louder, their bloodlust palpable, echoing through the city, "His blood be on us and on our children." This cry of collective guilt resonated far beyond that day, illuminating a path of sorrow and misunderstanding that would span generations, marking the beginnings of a grievous divide between two peoples forever intertwined in history. In the aftermath of this harrowing event, the landscape of faith shifted dramatically. The crucifixion ignited a fervent determination among the apostles to spread the message of Jesus, even as they encountered hostility from the very authorities who had condemned him. Preaching in synagogues and public squares, they faced persecution, including brutal encounters like the stoning of Stephen, which further entrenched the perception of a rift that was not merely theological but personal, sowing seeds of animosity that would unfortunately grow in the narratives of history and faith. The apostles, invigorated by the resurrection, traversed the landscape with an urgent mission, delivering their testimony to those willing to listen. Yet, with each word of hope, the shadow of animosity from the Jewish authorities loomed larger, their previous actions echoing like a distant thunder. The persecution became not only a struggle for belief but a battle for survival, one where the stakes were heightened by the immediate and tangible threats they faced. As they stood boldly, proclaiming the message of salvation, the early Christians found themselves caught in a vicious cycle of martyrdom and devotion, fueled by a deep-seated desire to fulfill the divine calling they believed they had received. Individual convictions clashed with collective narratives, as the line between faith and historical grievance became increasingly blurred, setting the stage for future conflicts. Confronting this harsh reality required not only bravery but an unwavering commitment to the teachings of Christ, even in the face of violent opposition that threatened to extinguish their flames of faith. In the years that followed, this divide deepened, with Christian leaders increasingly framing their faith as the true path, casting Judaism in a negative light. The theological foundation was laid, characterizing Jews as adversaries to the divine message, perpetuating the portrayal of a relentless opposition. This narrative took root in the hearts and minds of many, fostering a legacy of misunderstanding and conflict that would echo through the ages, reshaping relationships between two faith communities under the weight of a singular historical moment. In the aftermath, the essence of conflict transformed, as both communities grappled with the repercussions of that fateful day. Understanding this complex history is essential, as it not only reflects on past grievances, but also highlights the importance of forgiveness and reconciliation in the modern world. By recognizing the multifaceted nature of these interactions, we can pave the way for a future characterized by mutual respect and compassion among all faiths.